A Riproarious fight on the Mississippi River. One day, as I was sitting in the stern of my broadhorn, the old free and easy, on the Mississippi, taking a horn of midshipman's grog, with a tin pot in each hand, first a draught of whiskey and then one of river water, who should float down past me but Joe Snag. He was in a snooze as fast as a church, with his mouth wide open. He had ram-squaddled with whiskey for a fortnight, and had evaporated from his body. It looked like steam from a vent pipe. Knowing the feller would be darned hard to wake, with all the steam on, as he floated past me, I hit him with a crack over his knob with my big steering oar. He waked with a thundering rage. Says he, "Hello, stranger! Who asked you with a crack my lice?" Says I, "Shut up your mouth, and your teeth will get sunburnt." Upon this, he crooked up his neck and neighed like a stallion. I clapped my arms and crowed like a cock. He says, "If you're a game chicken, I'll pick all the pen feathers off of you." For some time back, I had been so wolfy about the head and shoulders that I was obliged to keep quivering in the salt crib to keep them from spilling, for I had not a fight for as much as 10 days. Says I, "Give us none of your chin music. Set your kickers on land, and I'll give you a severe licking." The fellow now jumped ashore, and he was so tall he could not tell where his feet were pulled. He jumped up a rod, and he says "Take care how I light on you," and he gave a real shock dodge that made my very liver and lats turn to jelly. But he found me a real scroucher. I break 3 of his ribs, and he knocked out 5 of my teeth in one eye. He was the severest colt that I had ever tried to break. I finally got a bite hold on what he could not shake off. We were now parted by some boatsmen who were so exhausted that we was more than a month before either of us could have a fight. It seems to me like a little eternity, and although I didn't come out second best, I took care not to wake up a ring-tailed roarer with an oar again. Treeing a wolf. Once there were a deep snow on the ground, and I sought out to make a call on my friend Luke Twig. It was war a leisure day, and I were going to be idle. Luke lived next door to me, only about 15 mile off, and so I were going to foot it. Just as I got up by Brush Hollow, the snow were deep in the middle, and the wind blowed so hard that I went to a hollow tree to warm myself. I hung Kill Devil up and begun to thrash my hands when a wolf come along and looked in. He stared right in my face as much as I asked to leave a pick baskets off of any part of me he wanted. I was so astonished by his impertinence that I stood right still a minute. Then the wolf turned about and were going off, when the end of his tail stuck to a big knothole in the tree. I catched hold and pulled his tail through. He jumped and twitched and tried to get away and screeched like a dying hawk. I tied his tail into a big knot and fastened it with a strap, so that he couldn't haul it out, and left him there to amuse myself. I could hear him holler all the way till I got to Luke Twig's house. Skinning a bear. One day when Oak Wing's sister were going off to be baptizing and had her feed in a bag under her arm, she seed a big bear that had come out from a holler tree, and he looked first at her, then at the feed, as if he didn't know which to eat first. He kind of poked out his nose and smelt of the dinner, which were sausages made of the bear's meat and crocodile liver. She stood a minute and looked at him, in hopes he would feel ashamed to himself and go off. But then he come up and smelt of her, and then she were time to be stirring. So she threw the dinner down before him, and just when he put his nose to it to take a bite, she threw herself on him and caught a scruff of his neck in her teeth. The bear shot ahead, for it felt beautiful, and her teeth were going long and sharp as nails. He tried to run, and she held on with her teeth, and stripped the scarin off of him, left him as naked as the day he was born. She held on with her teeth a bit till it come clear off the tail. The bear was seen a week afterwards up in Muskrat Hollow, running without his skin. She made herself a good warm petticoat out of that pesky varmint's hide. The Death Hook. We Welsh smashing huggers in our parts, and arter we ought once get a regular natural embrace, it takes us a day to get apart again. But all the smartest hugging I ever known was the one that I gave that great he-bar that squeezed me out of a nap once, as I laid at the root of a big hollow black oak. You seen the tarring old cowardly critter had put both his great forepaws around me and clenched 'em behind my back, and begun hugging me up to him and take a taste of my Kentucky taller, and the way he curled his tail and wiped his red tongue about that Elgarientivorous greedy, and his mouth watered for it, like a fresh medder ditch in spring of the year. But he were most presently disappointed, for he just wake up about half of me, and left the other half still asleep. I snorted a little tantalization of him, and then grabbed him by the ear with my finger flesh vise, and put an arm around his tarnal fat body, and with just a single squeeze I hugged him in a bar jerky, corked him up in the skin, and took him home for preserves.